Welcome back. Unemployed carers of child grant recipients who don't have identity documents can apply for the COVID-19 Special Relief of Distress grants. They can use their SASSA system-generated ID number. For more on this, Social African Social Security Agency spokesperson Paseka Letsatsi joins us now live. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. I think let's just start off with how many out there who don't have an identity document are in distress at the moment because they don't know how they can get this COVID-19 social relief grant. Speak to us about what SASSA is doing to assist those who don't have ID numbers.
Thanks, Heidi, and thanks for having us. I think the intention here is to make sure that especially the asylum seekers who do not necessarily have the ID number with them, because we can recall that if you come to South Africa from outside, you obviously come here without necessary documentation. So these are the people who have gone to Home Affairs, made an application to be refugees. So we are trying to make sure that we accommodate them. But obviously, you must go to Home Affairs, make an application, send it to us as SASSA, then we generate a unique number which is given to you. And this is what it basically ends with quad sevens. And that number, you can then be able to use it to make an application to access the 350 grant.
Before we get into the details of the SASSA-generated ID number, are you able to give us numbers as to how many people have actually applied for the SASSA number that don't have identity documents?
The number of people who have applied ID is about 10,000. Not necessarily those who have applied, but the number of people that we have in the system who do not necessarily possess the ID number, it's about 10,000. They are all over South Africa. Some of them, they would be going to Home Affairs, make an application then, because we have that arrangement with Home Affairs, wherein if you come and make an application, we're able to bounce the information in Home Affairs and find out how many of these people are in the system and so on. But that does not necessarily mean that all 10,000 of them will apply for the 350. We know that there are 10,000, but we might not have all of them trying to get into the system of making an application.
Speak to us about once somebody has been granted the SASSA-generated ID number, how do they get their money? Because in most instances, people might not have bank accounts or access to any ATMs. How do they go about getting their money?
No, not true. That is why we have appealed to people, especially those who do not necessarily have the bank accounts. We have an agreement with the South African Post Office. Post Office has entered with other merchants into an agreement with other merchants, wherein people will then be able to get money at Boxer. People will then be able to get money as well at Pick and Pay. So the intention here is to make sure that we move away from taking people to post offices. I think we might know that there was a very serious complaint that we are actually not doing enough to make sure that we make sure that people do not flock at post offices and we have snakes and long queues at post office. So we are delighted that post office has entered into agreement with those merchants, wherein people who do not necessarily have the ID can then, or do not have the bank account, can then be able to go to the merchants and get their money.
Yeah, it's not only about the snaking queues at the post offices, but also the concern that sometimes the post offices don't have cash and they're not in a position to give these grants out. Other than Pick and Pay and Boxer, where else can one get the COVID-19 social relief grant? Because if you consider what a difficult position these people find themselves in, sometimes it's difficult to access these points and these places to get the money. What else is being considered for payment options?
Look, I think the meeting which we had with Post Office last week, they indicated to us that other merchants are coming to play to partner with the Post Office to make sure that at least there's a variety of where people can then be able to go. But another one idea is to basically get the e-vouchers. These vouchers can then be able to be sent to you on your cell phone, and then you can then be able to use whatever platform that you want to use in order to access the money. because all that we agree with Post Office is to make sure that we minimize the queues. We do not necessarily also have problems when people go to Post Office. But what we want to emphasize, that we raise the issue of the Post Office, is to request people all the time never to go to the Post Office to inquire if their money is there, unless if they've got an SMS. So if you don't have an SMS, we are appealing to you not to go to the Post Office to inquire. Wait for that particular message to be sent to you from the South African Social Security Agency.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for that update. We do appreciate it. That was SASSA spokesperson, Paseka Letsatsi.